I might be able to. I just don't have a wide rectangle lens.
Mine barely picks up everything.
Well, this one goes up to 7 feet. So I don't want you guys to be able to get in and out.
That's funny.
Now it's tightened up.
Yeah, it is.
Like one of the suburbs, they got a line that all the schools were canceled. Really? Forever? Or because it rained? Started and
At 7 o'clock, call to order. Roll call.
Mason. Here. Purdy. Here. Shook.
Here.
Watts. Here. Bennett.
Here.
Clayton.
Here.
Corey. Here. Doty.
Here.
Dowdy. Friesland.
Here.
Cox.
Here. I'll do the invocation. Lord, we ask you for blessings on the people who have been called to lead the community. Please remind us that we are not only leaders, but servants, and it's our responsibility to serve the common good. We ask for your guidance and grace. We ask this in your holy name. Amen. Amen. Moment of silent reflection, please. Please join me in pledging the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, you can
Next
go
up,
out.
we have a presentation by the Coles County Farm.
You can go in that one and talk.
I wonder what it would take to get you back in this room. Well, I'm here, did you make him come?
Wanna come down here with us there?
Yeah, I'm sure.
We'd just like to thank the county board for their support of agriculture, and we look forward to continuing that in the future, because we think ag's a huge part of what happens in Coles County, and I'm sure you guys share that same. So,
Daryl, this is Allies in Agriculture 2023, 2024.
Thank you. Public comment. Can't read the first name.
Rob Perry.
Okay, Mr. Perry. I'm sorry.
Well, the results are in. We know a little bit more now that the debt adjustments are complete. I want to ask two of the sitting board members that were here to go back and ask you, Mrs. Purdy and you, Mr. Shook, you tell me what caused things to go like they did, because you stood up last time we were in here and said you knew there was something wrong. So I'd like for you to tell us, and certain taxpayers and people here, when you noticed there was something wrong, when did that happen and what did you notice that was wrong?
The very, very first meeting that I would attend to when I got elected, 2 days before the meeting, I heard there was going to be a large crowd here. And I said to them, to the person I was talking to about it, I said, well, what's going on? What have you heard that I haven't? Because I didn't know much of what's going on. And he said the property taxes and everything was all straightened out and all that stuff. So I said, okay. So at the meeting, the very first meeting, we was all here, and it was crowded. And if you remember right, Mr. Perry, I didn't know much, and I stood up and told, and I believe the chairman was Stan, I stood up and said to everybody in this room at the time, this is my first meeting, and I don't know much what's going on, but I heard a little bit. Something's not right here, and we need to try to help you folks.
So the next question to that is, you've sat through 6, 7 years of this, and I'm sure there's been plenty of county board meetings that went on the other side where you're all meeting. So if you knew there was something wrong, why didn't somebody advance something to fix something? Why did it take us court action to prove something that was completely right to begin with?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Several times I went to, I won't say no names, to certain people that was on the board and said, hey, we need to do something. And at the time, Mr. Perry was under a lawsuit. And I was told to shh. I don't want you saying anything or nothing about nothing or anything. So why not? We want you to be quiet about this because it's under a lawsuit.
We spent 7 years. 7 years of this, okay?
Okay.
And it's disturbing to me.
Mr. Perry, you have 30 seconds.
No. He was talking, stop this. Stop it. Just ridiculous.
It's part of your 3 years.
You know why you're doing it.
Stop it. It's
No, you know why you're doing it. You don't want to hear it.
Whatever.
You don't want to hear it.
You got 7 seconds.
7 years. 7 years we put up with this, okay? And we know now why. Because the long arm of your state's attorney, A, didn't want to do anything, and B, didn't do anything, and he chose the wrong side because you guys were wrong. You're totally off base and wrong. And the depositions will prove what I'm saying.
And I did say, and you folks mentioned several times about Bob Becker. Had a lot of trouble with him right off the bat and all that stuff, and you guys were wanting him in here. And I said, bring him in, bring him in, bring him in, bring him in. And I was the only one at the meeting said anything about bringing him in, no, we don't want to do that, no. Why not? Why not? Let's see what this guy's doing. And like I said at the last meeting, Mr. Perry, I probably didn't do that much, but I tried. And I'm only one vote, only one opinion. And when it was under the lawsuit, I was told to shh. But there was a lot of times, and you know, I would say something in here. I said, wait, no, that's wrong, that's wrong. I agree with you, Mr. Perry. I agree with you, Stan, and stuff like that.
The record speaks for itself. Just last thing. If the next 3 or 4 years are going to be like the last 7, I don't even care to see you folks any longer. Because you did the wrong thing, and you listened to somebody as a state's attorney that doesn't know what he's doing. Because you listened to the long arm of him, and he doesn't understand the law, for if he did, this would never happen. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Dukeman.
How many in this room have actually read the depositions results? Has anyone that's on the board?
So that's me.
All right. One thing I would like to ask, and this is towards the Office of Rules Committee. After reviewing the results of the depositions, I believe what should happen is that every board member that was here in 2017 should not be allowed on any county committee at all. So that would mean Stan Mesker should be removed from the committee that he is on right now, and anyone else that was here during that period of time should never be allowed to represent the people of this county ever again. We've spent, to my knowledge, my addition is correct, over $32,000 in defense for the county that should have never been spent had they just admitted what they did was wrong and fixed it, corrected it, whatever they needed to do at that period of time. They chose to, under the guidance of Stan Mesker, to not do that. In the May meeting, he stated, in the June meeting, he said you might as well just go ahead and file your lawsuit because that's the only way things are going to get fixed. I would encourage every one of you, if you haven't ever gone to YouTube, go to the March and April meetings and view those. You will see there where we have our county board chairperson, our supervisor of assessments, and our state's attorney lying to the public. The March meeting, they said one thing, they came back the following month in April and said something different. So on that list also, I would include Brian Bauer also to never be on any committee for the county, because he should never have been put in the position he is in right now, because he is not fit to be a judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Allen.
I'm going to read fast. County board was exposed for illegally hiring a private person to do the job of supervisor assessments. That exposure triggered a cover-up. The record proves all of us were right about everything exposed on this issue. The public was lied to for years. Mr. Becker's death. Question, fair to say that as a result of those concerns being raised, there was a decision made to quit giving you a 1099 and start issuing you a W-2? Answer, they just said we need to go fill out a W-2 paperwork in the treasurer's office. Who said? Who is we? Karen related to me, but I believe it came from the state's attorney's office. That would be Mr. Bauer, a now sitting judge who created an affidavit for Karen that is inconsistent with the paper trail and her own testimony. That affidavit appears to be an attempt to cover up the truth of the matter. Karen never hired Mr. Becker. The county board did, and it's proven in the depositions. Question, did you get paid for some work, for board review work or things of that nature? Oh, yes, he says. A FOIA response from Elaine Kamada informed the requester Mr. Becker received no additional compensation for board review work. Who do we believe, the actual pay records or misinformation in a FOIA request? Question, was there a separate agreement you made on how much you wanted compensated for that time? It would be an hourly rate for board review work. And then the next meeting we had, they said, yeah, it's approved. Who's they? The board of review said that. There is no record of this action taken by the board of review. No agenda item, no vote, no budget, and no authority to hire employees. How many more laws were violated? Mr. Fredericks responded, do you have conversations with the board of review members that Mr. Becker was asking for an hourly rate for pay in order to be part of those appeals? I don't recall having that conversation, no. By the way, there's no minutes of this conversation ever taking place. So who's lying? The guy named in the lawsuit who has to create a narrative to support his improper and illegal payments from the board of review? Or the board member who has no dog in the fight? Mr. Becker, he's questioned. Ms. Biddle states that the work is done by an independent fee appraiser hired by Coles County. Is she referring to you? Yes. An independent fee appraiser is not an employee, as was trying to be claimed after they got exposed. Her communication conflicts with her deposition and her affidavit. Mr. Becker, would it be fair to say that you were doing work underneath your bid requirements before the oath of office was signed in June of 16? Yes. Doing work before the oath of office was signed. How special is that? That too conflicts with claims by Karen in her affidavit and testimony. Settle this case and just simply be done with spending the taxpayer money and acknowledge that the prior board broke the state law, just like was said from day one. And with that in mind, and I'm sorry your state attorney is not here, I would highly recommend, if you have any interest in saving thousands of dollars, may I finish with this?
Sure, go ahead.
If you want to save thousands of dollars, have your state's attorney contact your neighboring state's attorney in Shelby County and ask him for assistance in your union labor contract stuff. He's a labor law expert, and he's available to provide those services through an intergovernmental agreement. Doesn't cost you folks a penny, and you can save from spending the thousands you're spending on law firms in Chicago. Thank you.
Mr. Donato.
8 years to get to this point. How much money, Rex?
That's just what they spent.
How much?
Over 32,000.
Over 32,000. I want to say this. I'm going to read parts of these depositions because you need to know who the main culprits were in this. And everyone else who was complicit in this, that knew what was going on, that had been here. Mr. Edwards, you knew what was going on. Kelly Lockhart knew what was going on. You guys were all partisan. You said nothing. As far as I'm concerned, you're all unfit for office. And anyone that was on the board sitting here the whole time, when we come up here and say, you just troublemakers and you're this and that, no. We were the public taxpayers that were paying the bills, that were telling the truth. So you don't believe me, Mrs. Purdy? Maybe you believe Stan, okay, when in his own testimony in the deposition, maybe you believe Brandon Bell. Both former chairmen who lied. And not only that, we've got the last 7 years on video of every meeting and all the lies that were said. So anyone who wants to challenge me on this, I've got all the proof in hard copy here. I'd love to show it to any new board members that would like to see it, or anyone else. It's true. I said over the 7-year period, I kept bringing up what's going to cook the goose of these people are two things. The 2 letters that were written and signed by the chairman of the board then, Stan Metzger, who sent the letter to Reggie Phillips, and he sent the letter to then State Senator Dale Ryder. And he gave himself up with what the county was doing, that they contracted Mr. Becker. The second thing was the Office and Rules Committee meeting on May 4th, 2015. Okay? And
2000 what, sir?
May 4th, 2015. The Office and Rules Committee, where they approved Bob Becker's bid to be forwarded the next week to the county board for approval. And I said all along, there was a company, Tyler Tech, that had a $500,000 plus bid, and there was a Bob Becker who had a $115,000 bid. And I said, if Bob Becker was hired by Karen Biddle in the office like they were claiming, why is he in front of the Office and Rule Committee? And why is his bid being compared to Tyler Tech's bid? And why were they forwarding that bid to the county board's meeting the following week for approval? He was never hired by Karen Biddle. He was never an employee here. When we read you the statute that says that what you were doing was illegal, that Kirk and John brought, right away, Brian Bauer, there was a big scheme to change his compensation. He was not a W-2 employee. Okay? He was a 1099. They changed it. They tried to make it fit the law. It was breaking the law. I'm going to read you part of Brandon Bell's deposition.
You have 15 seconds.
I'm going to read this deposition. I've waited 8 years for this, and I'm going to read this. The public needs to know. You can laugh all you want.
You know what?
Okay? You can laugh. This is not funny.
Go ahead.
I don't find it funny. All right. This is deposition by Brandon Bell.
How long is this going to take?
As long as it takes to read the sentences I got. I don't
It's not
know.
going to take that long. You got.
It's not going to take that long. You keep interrupting me, it's going to take longer.
I'm going to
All right, I'm going to start reading.
I'm going to give you 30
I'm going to
extra
start
seconds.
reading the deposition, okay?
After 30 seconds,
I'm going to start reading the deposition. I'm reclaiming my time, okay? Based upon hiring practices, my last question. Based upon hiring practices, if in fact Ms. Childress was hiring an employee for her office, Office and Rules Committee would not have been having a meeting about a potential hire in that office. Is that correct? Brandon Bell, correct. Next question. Understood. They would start with you, correct? Meaning the Office and Rules Committee, correct. So if the assessor's office had staffing needs that would exceed their budget, the assessor would start by coming to the Office and Rules Committee asking to increase their budget, correct? Brandon Bell, yes. Isn't it true that the assessor Childress never came to Office and Rules Committee during this time asking for a budget increase for more staff? No. Question, she did not, correct? Answer, Brandon Bell, no. Isn't it true that Ms. Childress never came to offices and rules committee saying that I desire to hire Bob Becker as a staff person and I need more money?
Mr. Nasso,
That never happened,
Mr.
did
Nasso,
it?
your time is
That
up.
never happened, did it? Answer.
I'm gonna ask
no. Isn't it true that the Office and Rules Committee solicited a proposal for commercial reassessment and eventually
He's
adopted
done.
and accepted Mr. Becker's
I give
proposal?
everybody 3 minutes, I
Or
give him
proposal.
over 3 minutes, he's done. with his
Consideration by
Can
the
you
board.
vote on that?
Yes.
No, I want him
This
to
is-
stop. Look, he's.
No, this
You're
is factual stuff. The board
Okay,
needs to hear.
fine. I give everybody 3 minutes. I give you 3 minutes. You're not.
Oh, thank you.
You're done.
Thank you for giving me 3 minutes.
Stop.
I waited 8 years for this.
That's okay.
Okay, no, it's not okay. It's okay for you to laugh. It might be okay for you to think it's okay. I want to know, does the board want to hear the truth or not? You guys have heard us for
You're done.
8 years.
You're done. Sit down.
Case law says you have to vote to do what you want to do. Just info you. Yes, it does.
No, it does not.
I've read, go read the Florida case.
It does
The
not.
board has to
require
vote,
state
you just
law.
can't.
All I got is Stan Metzger's deposition. All I got is that, sentences out of his.
We
I'm gonna
already
read it.
have a resolution.
I'm gonna read it.
3 minutes.
I'm gonna read
He's done. You're
8
done.
years.
Next person.
8 years I've been waiting for this.
I would like to hear the information. Frankly, I want it on the record that I would like to hear it.
You not voluntarily walk out, you get the right to say.
Is that a motion?
It has been 8 years, and I haven't seen the
Somebody
deposition.
else can read it later.
No, you know what? It was asked last month if you guys would read the depositions, and I see Mr. Doty read it, but no one else evidently took the effort to read it. Especially, I would expect the people that had been here for the last 8 years and think that we're just coming here and lying and not saying anything. Now we have actually sworn testimony, sworn depositions that show what we were saying was absolutely, positively true. And if you don't believe me, you're gonna have to believe your peers. Because you're not gonna read the depositions, Miss Birdie.
Let me get back to this point of the resolution, and I'll read it to you. A public comment for any person is restricted to 3 minutes. Total time for public comment is restricted to 30 minutes. The chairman or a majority of the county board members may grant more time. You know what? I will, the majority, I don't know if we do a roll call, or what you want to, if you want to sit and listen to this, I'm game. But it's going to take a majority of the board members to sit, to listen to the rest of this.
I would encourage,
So I'm going to ask for a roll call, whether or not you want to allow him to use additional time beyond the 3 minutes.
Mr. Donato, how much longer do you think it's going to take?
2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, I vote for this one.
Well, wait till you.
Just let him go ahead.
Go ahead. Roll call.
Mason,
I'm saying I want to hear it, but hijacking this forum is not the way to do it. And I would suggest a different, that he actually get on the agenda to be able to read that to us and get more time. But for right now, I'm voting no.
Purdy,
I'm voting no because they're so stickler about the rules and they're not following the rules. So no.
Shook,
No.
Watts,
Yes.
Bennett,
Well, I agree with Gail. I would like to know about this, but make a presentation of it, but I'm going to vote no.
Clayton,
I'm going to vote yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Doty,
Yes.
Friesland,
I will say no, because this is, again, not the proper format to do it. I would love to see this information. I would like to see the information. If you would submit it to me, I will look at it. I will read every single word of the depositions.
You shouldn't
But I don't
have to
think this
submit
is
it
the
to
format to do it.
Submit it for 8 years.
This is public comment. It's time to comment now. I've been coming here for 8 years faithfully. 8 years.
6 no and 4 yes. I'm going to ask you one more time to sit down.
I'm gonna read
Mr.
it.
Donato.
I'm going to read
If
it.
you continue to read, I'm going to ask that you be removed.
I'm going to read what I got to read. If you got to do what you got to do.
Just shows that you don't want to hear the truth.
Because it's wrong.
No.
How about the law? No, it shows that. What about the rules for you? What about not lying to the public? Do those rules matter? What about changing his employment status? Does that not matter to you? Does that not matter? Those rules don't matter, but you want to stifle me when I finally get the depositions because you won't believe me.
That doesn't matter to me. I'll take the. I don't know, sir. I don't know who the sheriff is, but the majority of the board has voted not to allow him to speak beyond his 3 minutes, and your time is up. I'm going to ask you to sit down, or be asked to pull down.
Coming from a bunch of lawbreakers, telling me that last month it was, I said the word damn. And this month, you don't even want to hear the deposition, you don't even go out of your way to hear it. Yeah, this county's run real good.
Mr. Stubbs.
All of it.
Well, I think I'll just, I've been up quite a few hours today. I'll give James some more time. I'll give him my time. Go ahead. Oh. Well, I guess I'll keep my time. Is that all right with you? Sure. Okay, well, as far as the speaking, we look around the country today, we'll soon have 4th of July, or whatever that's worth nowadays. I remember being in grade school and the teacher said, now over there in Russia, they can't say what they want to say. Well, when we look around us today, that's where we're heading. I remember being over here at Lakeland College several years ago, it was at least 7 minutes. And now we're down to 3. Well, shoot, why don't we just go for 1? Does it mean anything? So, that's all I really have to say. Yeah, 4th of July, what does it mean? It's fading away. It doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean much anymore. Do all the flag waving you want.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Pratt.
Good evening. I want to talk about appointments. Item number 1 appointment to the county board. The county's code is specific, 50, or maybe it's the election code, whatever, 10 ILCS 5. When there's a vacancy in any elected county office, and a county board which is not a home rule unit, the county board or board of county commissioners shall declare such a vacancy exists, and notification thereof shall be given to the county central committee or the appropriate county board or board of county commission district members. Committees of each established for the authority within 3 days of the occurrence of the vacancy. I haven't read any meeting minutes or agendas where any vacancy was declared, which is step number 1 when there's a vacancy. Step number 2 would be to notify the proper people within 3 days. And step number 3 would be to put 1 appointment to the county board on the meeting agenda. So I'm just asking, when did step number 1 and number 2 happen? When did you declare the vacancy in an open public meeting? When did you notify the political parties prior to right now? Can anybody answer that? I'd appreciate it.
You're not asking the law to be followed.
That's 10 ILCS 5//25-11. If anybody cares to look at it. How's that done?
Thank you. Jamie D. It says Jamie D. Jamie D. Period. Next one is Mr. Combs.
have, or are we waiting for Mr. D?
Do you know who Jamie D is?
No, I don't. Well, I'm gonna change up a little bit here and enlighten the board. And I may have to do 2 or 3 months worth of coming and speaking to you guys. We've got a storm coming. And people that aren't keeping an eye on what's going on in this country are going to get caught. There are going to be issues coming forward to this county board in the near future that you're going to have to address. And I'm hoping that it isn't handled like COVID was. Unless I was lied to, and please, any board member that was here during that, correct me if I was. My understanding is that the county board reacted on fear and intimidation from the governor by being told that if you kept the businesses closed and mask mandates as long as possible by Nancy Pelosi, that they would be rewarded after the election. And this did happen. The question is, you people are here to represent the people. You're not here to represent the government. You're here to look out the best fair. The thing is that unless I was lied to by an ex-county board member, Coles County never met the minimum requirement to shut down businesses and mandate masks. And as a result, people lost their livelihoods and had to file bankruptcy because this county board chose to give in to fear and intimidation that was threatened that funds would be withheld from this. If any board member here can tell me that's not so, I would like to hear it. Okay? My understanding is you had a minimum requirement and you didn't follow it. And therefore, you chose the government over the people that elected you to represent them and to be on their behalf and everything else. The plandemic, and yes, I'm calling it the plandemic, was to see how many sheep we had in America and how many people would get. A true pandemic has every hospital bed full, every gymnasium has cots in it and filled with people and people dropping on the streets. That is a pandemic. Okay? This is something that people need to watch and look. People on national TV, this country is under attack. Okay? The Democrats are not the ones doing this. You're sitting there going, what? The Democrat Party doesn't control its party anymore, and the Republican Party is under attack also. We call them rhinos. Okay? True Democrats wouldn't do to this country what this has happened. I'm telling you that right now. I have friends that are Democrats. And you say, oh, conspiracy theory. 1 million Democrats, over 1 million Democrats prior to the November election left the party from the same conclusion. The Democrat Party from Utah announced on local TV that they took their party back from a socialist organization.
Your time is up, Mr.
No problem. You won't have any on me. I got several months to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicholas Dale.
Corruption in Coles County and its employees. On October 23rd, 2019, I was in a political debate with Andrew Schick, Judge Mitch Schick's son, on Kennedy Valenetichez's Facebook post. The topic was about the black population in Coles County, as well as in the penitentiary. I corrected Andrew's outdated.org statistics with current.gov statistics. Andrew commented something along the lines of, I'm sorry I'm not a doctor's child that can afford the best education that money can buy. I responded with a screenshot of Andrew's father's $212,000 per year salary from the Illinois Comptroller's website and stated, it doesn't look like you were deprived of privilege either. Shortly after, I believe Judge Schick legally asked law enforcement officers to follow me around to make an alarming number of appearances in my vicinity, thus violating the Citizen Privacy Protection Act and the Freedom from Location Surveillance Act. Mitch Schick formerly represented a plaintiff that sued my father's company, Lakeland Radiologists. I had gone through the county circuit clerk files and found over 950 case files regarding Lakeland Radiologists. Mitch Schick and the judges here know who my family is, and it is a conflict of interest. I took this picture on November 8th, 2019, 2 weeks after the Facebook debate, and declared that I was seeing an alarming number of officers every time I arrived in Coles County to visit my mom. I opposed racism publicly on the aforementioned Facebook post and was met with retaliation. This is a violation of my First Amendment rights in the Illinois Human Rights Act. This is inherently willful and wanton and malicious retaliation for opposing systemic racism. I've saved thousands of dash camera video clips of every time I pass a law enforcement officer on the roadway. The board is aware from my public speaking at 2 meetings ago that I am going to sue State's Attorney Jesse Danley, Judge O'Brien in this county. I took business law at Eastern in 2018. I made an e-file account around the beginning of 2020 for my own pro se litigation interest. On January 5th, 2022, I linked myself to a case that I intended to file into on the e-file system. On January 6th, 2022, my father, my cousin, my half-brother's mom, and I ate at Billy Baru's Sports Bar before heading to the Illinois basketball game. We had a routine and pattern eating at that restaurant and then going to the Illini games. Sat at the table next to us was Judge Schick and his court transcriptionist wife, Joda. One day after linking myself on the e-file system, I had worked with Joda obtaining a court hearing transcript a few months earlier. I complained to her about discrepancies on the transcript and things that were left out of the record. Their appearance in my vicinity is witness tampering, and it intimidated and interfered with my ability to file on the e-file system. This county's court is well aware I have a disability from my 13 mental health 12 and 13 mental health 21 cases. This county's court knows I require American with Disability Act accommodations to effectively participate. This county's court has violated my rights to enjoy the full service and benefits it offers pursuant to the Illinois Human Rights Act. This county's court has discriminated against me for my disability. I believe Mitch utilized Fog Revealer, hired a private investigator to track my routine so he could illegally and discriminatorily intimidate me that day at the restaurant. There's over 2,000 restaurants Judge Schick could have selected to eat at with his family in a 50-mile radius of Charleston. It is more than a mere coincidence, and I demand Mitch be held legally accountable and indicted. I have been researching these crimes and civil torts, and I intend to sue Coles County and Mitch and Joe Schick.
Mr. Daly, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that you don't have enough seats for your county, and you should offer 5 minutes because many people go over.
There's no further public comment. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question? Since there's one person missing, would you mind if I repeat to Mr. Danley the issue of your possible labor law representation?
Sure.
Your state's attorney in Shelby County, his private practice for 20-plus years is labor law. If you reach out to him, he's more than happy to assist in any labor issues you have or contract assistance. And that would mean you would not have the financial burden for paying out for private counsel now. And he is an expert, if not the expert in the state of Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion, second.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Friesland, second by Mr. Clayton. Roll call.
Mason,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Watts, Bennett,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Corey, Doty,
Yes.
Friesland,
Yes.
Cox.
Yes. There will be one appointment to the county board to fill Lisa Jacobs' position. That appointment will be next month. One appointment to the Lincoln Fire Protection District, Ryan Berkheimer, through 2026. With advice and consent of the board. Roll call.
Mason,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Watts, Bennett,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Corey, Doty,
No.
Friesland,
Yes.
Cox.
Yes. One appointment to the Drainage District Number 12, Humboldt, Mr. Miller, until September of 2025. I believe there was a letter from the attorney regarding this. I think last month we voted that down. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He doesn't even have to let us.
That letter is in your board book. With advice and consent of the board, I'm going to appoint Mr. Miller. Roll call.
Mason,
Yes.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Watts, Bennett,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Corey, Doty,
Yes.
Friesland,
Yes.
Cox.
Yes. Find it, I need to read the prevailing wage. Page is that one?
Right before finance.
speak for you.
Thank you. Whereas the state of Illinois has enacted an act relating to the wages of laborers, mechanics, and other workers employed in any public works by the state, county, city, or any public body or political subdivision, or by anyone under contract for public works approved June 26, 1941, codified as amended 820 ILCS 130/193, formerly Illinois Revised Statute, Chapter 48, Paragraph 39, S1. And whereas the aforesaid act requires that the county board of the county of Coles investigate and ascertain the prevailing rate of wages as defined in this said act for laborers, mechanics, and other workers in the locality of the county employed in performing construction of public works for said county. Now therefore be ordained by the county board of Coles County, Illinois, Section 1, to the extent as is required by an act regulating wages of laborers, mechanics, and other workers employed in any public works by the state, county, city, or any public body or any public political subdivision, or anyone under contract for public works approved June 26, 1941 as amended, the general prevailing wages of this locality for laborers, mechanics, and other workers engaged in construction of public works coming under the jurisdiction of the county board is hereby ascertained to be the same as prevailing rate of wages for construction work in Coles County area as determined by the Department of Labor, State of Illinois as of June 2022. Copy of the determination being attached heretofore and incorporated herein by reference, as required by said act, and all revisions of prevailing rate of wages by the Department of Labor of the State of Illinois shall supersede the Department's June determination and apply to any and all public works construction undertaken by the county. The definition of any terms here in this ordinance which are also used in aforesaid act shall be the same in said act. Section 2, nothing herein contained shall be construed to apply said general prevailing rate of wages as herein ascertained to any work or employment except public works construction of the county board to the extent required by this